Zambia, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Whistle, the show on BMTV channel 114 on your Top Star bouquet that takes you in depth and beyond the final results in as far as the 2026 FIFA World Cup. I'm your host, Isaac Chipatanga, and of course, for the next 60 minutes or so, we'll be reflecting on a historical day for Canada as they managed to get their first victory in as far as the FIFA World Cup. We'll be also looking at a very, very important day for South Africa. They came back from the dead to salvage a 1-0 draw in their match against Czechia to keep their hopes alive for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and their chances of progressing beyond their group stages. That is coming up in the next couple of minutes. But of course, we'll be also building up to what promises to be a very, very important night for the Brazilians. Remember, their first game they drew against Morocco 1-1. So they'll be hoping to get all 3 points as they lock horns with Haiti. Also on the show, Morocco, one of Africa's prospects or representatives in as far as this tournament is concerned. They will be up against the Scottish in a match that is a repeat of that encounter that took place in the group stages in France after the France World Cup in 1998, where a certain Morocco managed a 3-0 victory over their opponents this particular, evening, or should I say in the early hours of tomorrow. Not alone on set to help me unpack and of course look ahead to what promises to be a very, very interesting 60 minutes on this particular show. I'm joined by former Chipolo Polo midfielder who's in between me and Gezani, the resident football analyst, that is William Jove. William, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Isaac.
Okay. And of course, Gezani, there is no introduction needed. The man who has statistics at the fingertips and gives us that analytical, perspective of the beautiful game of football joins us on set. Gez, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Isaac. Of course, we are just beyond the whistle. So I think as the world is really unfolding, so much interesting stories that are just building up to this program. So I think we are good to go.
And of course, look out for, our new segment on the show. We'll be looking in depth at very, very different aspects of the game at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, beyond the results themselves. And of course, today we'll be focusing on whether the hydration break is a tactical break or it's whether the hydration break is a tactical break for coaches at this particular World Cup. So much talk about, these hydration breaks and how they affect the flow of the game at this particular World Cup and so on and so forth. We'll be looking at it from a coach's perspective, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So I do have two resident analysts here as well as coaches in many regards. So they will be giving their perspective on this particular, sub-topic. But let's begin with Africa's hopes in as far as what transpired yesterday. South Africa were up against Czechia. The final result was a 1-1 draw. I'll ask both of you the same question. Your overall summary of how, South Africa approached the game, that ended in a 1-1 draw against Czechia.
Yeah, I think there was a slight improvement on South Africa from the start of the game. I think Czechia they were very much in control of that game yesterday. I think like 3/4 of the game, Czech Republic were on top of it and created chances, created a lot of chances, scored early, which was very good for them, motivating for them. Yeah, they went on and on. Yeah, they pushed. You could see that South Africa did not really play the way we expected them to play. For example, in my case, I was thinking that they will do exactly something that they did in the last 15 minutes. I think in the last 15 minutes is the only time. I think at that point, players realized that, okay, now, anyway, we are going home. Yeah. We have nothing to lose. And then suddenly, you could see the South Africa that we were all expecting to see. And in the end, they even managed to, they introduced this young player I saw,
Mafokeng.
Yeah. And you could see how everyone wanted this boy to be in this game, and you could see that the coach threw this boy in this game, knowing that maybe this might be the last, they're like almost the last game of the tournament for them. Of course, considering that they still are the last game, but the boy came and he brought some flair, and this is something that is good with younger players. So it can come in both ends. It can be, you can introduce a young player and get cold feet and fail to perform.
Yeah.
And at times you can introduce a young player that just gets the opportunity and say, I'm going to be out here and enjoy the World Cup and enjoy the game and just show everyone else that, you know, I also exist. And, you know, he brought something that changed.
Yeah.
It could be him, but the thing is, you could see that South Africa realized that, guys, we are going out, let's do something. And that was a very hard end 1 point, and it gives them, you know, the hope that, you know, because the tournament is 1 point, it's 4 points.
Yeah.
4 points gives you a chance to qualify.
Yeah.
Also considering looking at other results, but they gave themselves a lifeline, and I was pleased that they did that in the end.
Okay. You put on your analytical glasses, you know, Gezani.
Yeah.
How did you see that performance by South Africa? Is there anything else they would have done a little bit different and probably, you know, looking to improve on ahead of that, you know, final group match against, you know, the South Koreans?
Well, I think they played as a team. And of course, 4-5, like I told you that Okono and also Makovenzi, they played, I think, well organized a bit yesterday. But again, talking about, I think, Madao, the same team that started the game at the defense. But yesterday we saw a bit of Mokoen, I think, operated in the midfield. And coming from that also, we saw a change. Foster being substituted. Foster, sometimes he doesn't give that power of coming backtrack and help the midfielders. But yesterday we saw the Orlando Pirates strikers that was just put in place was able to backtrack and to help the team. Because why? I think they had a lot of talk after Sitole was, I think, red carded. Because you look at that red carded exposed a lot of defenders. Where were you when Sitole was able to backtrack to go and defend, being the last man? So yesterday we saw a bit of improved South Africa, and they played as a team. But of course, the first minutes, I think, that we saw, it was all about Czech Republic. They tried to make sure that they can cause a bit of maybe uncomfortable in terms of the defense of South Africa. But I think also they were able to sack the pressure. I think regardless of allowing the goal first, but later on they stabilized and they were able to sack the pressure that Czechia was able to bring against them. But second half, of course, I think they played well, they improved. Regardless of not having a lot of shots on target, but they were able to get a goal, that equalizing a goal that could have just saved the lifeline for them to survive and to play the last 32. I think for me, it's good. They showed. I think it was going to be very bad to see South Africa, I think, losing all the games.
Okay.
But in terms of right now, where they are, at least, like Coach William is saying, they have blighted the chances also of them remaining. I think at the moment, our point with you is that most of Africans, they are against South Africa. But I think it's all about some of us who believe that things can happen like that. We give the support to that in terms of those who love football. They understand and say, let us support South Africa. But in terms of yesterday's performance, I think was a bit improved coming from that bash that they experienced against Mexico.
From a tactical point of view, Coach William, the fact that South Africa conceded, and this is now officially the earliest goal scored at this particular World Cup on 5 minutes, 9 seconds. It's the fastest goal that has been conceded at this particular World Cup. What does that do to South Africa's game plan and Hugo Broos? Because I'm sure his tactical approach was to ensure that South Africa do not concede early, but they conceded very early. What did it do for, you know, the tactical approach for the rest of the game for South Africa conceding so early?
Yeah, the truth is that as a coach, when you make your plan, you put your plan in place, and then you go on the field of play. The moment you concede, especially when you concede early, it's true. The truth is it destabilizes how you wanted to play. But I think South Africa, you could see that, like Gezani said, you could see that they improved. Of course they conceded, but you could see that they maintained their approach. They were a little bit compact. They did not, even if they conceded early, they looked stable defensively, and they're always trying to catch Czechia on the counter attacks because they played in that low block kind of setup. Not really low, but it was a middle block kind of setup, which was for me a good decision because at the end of the day, you cannot, like what we said yesterday, you cannot go in a tournament playing as if you are playing against maybe Mauritius, or I don't know, you're playing maybe a team that you are at the World Cup, and these teams you are playing, they are the stars of their countries. So you have to be cautious. Also wanting to score goals, but also knowing that if you don't concede any more goals, then you have a chance to equalize and even win the game. But I think I was pleased that South Africa kept their shape well. Mokoena are not very disciplined in terms of, the tackles and these things. So he accumulated, even got to a second yellow in 2 games, meaning that he's missing the last game. But the truth is that you could see a little bit of character in South African people, because again, if you go back to the other game against the one that they lost, the one that they against Mexico, my challenge was, Hugo might have had a plan, which you said you had 5 players at the back, but you can have a plan, but if the application of the players is not at the best, the plan is useless. Because in the end, we say tactics, formations, all these things, they only work if players are able to apply themselves to the best of their abilities. But yesterday, you could see a little bit of character, not really the character that you expect a team that is coming from a loss, but you could see that at least there were a little bit of care. They were cautious. They did not want to concede. Hence, they kept the game at 1-0. And then in the end, this is how football is. In the end, they got the momentum. They equalized and and got the very much needed 1 point.
Okay, let's just.
I think one thing that I'm not comfortable with the 4-5 defenders is when you are building up coming from William. You remember the first goal that they conceded against Mexico? It was all about, I think, in the build-up. When the goalkeepers got a ball, what do you do with the ball? Of course, 2-3, they might just split and give away to 4-5. I think even last time, you remember how they allowed the goal yesterday?
Yes.
I think in the process of building up in the final third, you are done with the first block, they are opening up. Again, the midfielders, while you are looking for the midfielders to open up, the ball is being caught in the web. And they take the ball away and they're able to score. So it means that the 4-5, I think still they are not stable in terms of the communication, how they communicate with the goalkeeper. And the way they are spacing also. Wow, Mudau and also the left back who plays for Sundowns. They are not playing as Modiba. They are not playing as a team that understands the movement of the ball. Hence, they need to work on that one, because I think if you are not comfortable using the 4-5, the building up in attack, let also the holding midfielder, the likes of William Jove, they draw a bit, calm, because when you are spacing the wide defenders, it means that you are also allowing 6 and 8, creating space on the midfielders. So if you are not comfortable with starting with the 4-5, then at least there must be midfielders dropping up. So those are things that they should be really working on. Yeah.
If you look at the official statistics that we'll see on screen between Czechia and the South Africans, you quickly notice almost every department was advantage to South Africa, because you look at the shots on target, 14 for Czechia and of course 17 for South Africa. The ball possession heavily in favor of South Africa, 61.9% for South Africa, only 31.1%. The shots on target also being shaded by South Africa, 4-3 in favor of South Africa. But all the departments, William, it looks like South Africa were far much better. Is it a case of having ball possession, for instance, in the areas that is failing to hurt, their opponents, and also the fact that they had more shots on target? Is it a case of South African strikers just being blunt rather than being ruthless in front of goal? Yeah,
I think all these statistics, if you look at them, they're showing that full-time statistics.
Yeah.
So it only tells you that South Africa only woke up towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And if you look at the shots on target, it also gives you an impression that, really, what we are saying is true, that South Africa had a much had a much improved performance, but the full-time statistics, what the full-time statistics are showing is that South Africa, towards the end of the game, they were really in charge of the game. They were a team that, I'll say it over and over, they were a team that I expected to see from game one.
Yeah.
And imagine, they've played 90 plus 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Not like the same team that we expect them to be. And they played 15 minutes, 15 plus 5, 15 plus 6 minutes. They've only played like 15 plus 6 minutes. They've played like 21 minutes. The South Africa that we expected to see at the World Cup. And even going back to what Gezan was saying in the build-up and these things, you can see it all goes back to the fact that they are not comfortable. They are not comfortable with the ball. And if you are going to be building up from the back, you need players that are really confident on the ball. And hence, in our plans, for example, with our teams, we even convert defensive midfielders as center backs. You know why? Because you're looking for the most comfortable players. The first two players with the together of the goalkeeper that makes this triangle at the back on the building up. These should be the most comfortable players. You can have players that are 50-50 maybe as wing backs and these things. But because South Africa has a two central pairing that is not really comfortable with the ball. Hence, they've struggled even to build from the back. They're having turnovers. And when you build from the back, you try to make the pitch bigger. Hence, creating very big holes when you lose the ball, meaning that you are vulnerable when you lose the ball. And a lot of teams that play out from the back, they only most of the time they concede when they have the ball, not when they don't have the ball. And we've seen a lot of turnovers from South Africa. So Hugo need to work on that if he wants to a positive result in the last game.
Okay. If you look at the graphic of probably the key player for South Africa, Teboho Mokoena, who we're seeing now on our screens, the official statistics showing Coach Gez 119 passes. He's the only player, both from South Africa and the Czech Republic, who had more than 3 figures of touches in that particular encounter, 22 of them in the final third of the opponents. But he accumulated a second yellow card. How much of a headache is that going to be for Hugo Broos, considering that he's now out of, that, third match against, South Korea, which is a must win for the South Africans, coupled with the fact that, Themba's one and now he's on a 3-match ban and he's not going to be part and parcel of the team. 2 key players in that midfield who can, provide that, attacking spark for South Africa. How will that affect Hugo Broos?
Well, I think if you look at how he picked the players, he knows and he believed also in the backup. But again, you cannot take away from it. Mokoena was outstanding, starting from the first game. That's the reason. Sometimes midfielders, you don't need to be like you are from church. You need to be stubborn. You need to be very strong. And sometimes the fear starts just even when you are just shaking hands. Because these players, they threaten each other so much. You see, so he took control of the midfield. That's the reason he had more touches on the ball. He had more passes on of the ball, of the game. And he's got the authority. He was able to detect. It's good that they have got such midfielders, because sometimes there are midfielders who are made, they can change the pace of the game. If they know that they are leading, sometimes they will just change. When he's got the ball just on his leg, it's very difficult. Just to get the ball out of his foot is very difficult. There are such midfielders, and he's one of them. But I hope that the coach, Hugo Broos, is going to make some, I think, a good mathematics, bring up another midfielder who's going to fit in. Maybe if you're not comfortable, at least maybe enforce having 2 midfielders with the same character, how they can really boom forward and also defend as a team. I think it will be a drawback, but I know that and I believe that South Africa, they have got very good midfielders. I hope that someone is going to fit in those boots, but it will be a loss because I think Mokoena is outstanding, very good midfielder. I think that reminds me of Wahoma Makerere. Sometimes he was a bit short, but in terms of moving the ball, it's just the same as the height of the midfielders like William, like N'Golo Kante. You see them, they are a bit short, but in terms of the gravity, on the ground, they are very stable with the ball. So I think he's part of those that are very stable with the ball. I hope that South Africa, they'll do something that they're not only great him accumulating 2 yellow cards, that to make him not feature into the next match.
Let's wrap up, this particular, group by looking at, how South Africa are likely to line up and what tactical approach they are likely to employ against Mexico, against South Korea, because South Korea are wounded as well. They lost to Mexico by that lone goal. It means that the pressure is on South Africa. They need the 3 points. Mexico can sit out for a draw because they won their first game, and hopefully 4 points will be good enough for second position. If Mexico get the better of Czech Republic in the other encounter, it will mean that they will secure second position and probably even qualify. So, in view of that, Coach William, how do you expect South Africa and Hugo Broos to tactically approach that particular encounter, knowing fully well that only a victory will do for them in terms of giving them a chance to progress?
Yeah, if you go back and watch South Korea, yesterday I got up at 3 o'clock. Just wanted to watch. Because for me was this was like very interesting game because I wanted to see how South Korea are going to, to hold up Mexico. But something I learned about South Korea this morning is that South Korea, because I wanted to see if South Africa are able to. South Korea are beatable. They are not like let's say they're not like Japan. And maybe the previous South Korea was a little bit better. But so coming back to South Africa, I think they'll lose Mokoena. So meaning that hopefully, I think they have a direct replacement who is Mbata, and Adams is always is a little. The one younger that is always, they play like two pivot, Adams and Mokoena. So Mokoena is out, so they'll play Mbata. Surely Mbata is the one that gives the defensive kind of balance. So, but it's not like Mokoena. All of us agree Mokoena is good on the ball and good defensively.
He's almost like a PLO, a deep line.
Him is like a proper backbone there. So, yes, like Gezana said, Hugo knows why he picked even Mbata to be the cover-up. So obviously, still he's going to he will bring something maybe different because they're not the same player. But I'm sure they'll bring it will be Mbata and Adams. But the approach this time should be how they finished the game, how they finished the game. There is just the last game.
The one against Czechia yesterday.
This is the approach. They should go all out free. It's the last game. It's like all or nothing. When you go in the game that all or nothing, you go like a team that you have nothing to lose. If you lose, you lose. You win. You are, and teams like teams in this position this position that's Africa in. These are teams that sometimes you see football is a very funny game. I always say football is dynamic. One day a team looks like a waste.
Exactly.
And especially in the tournament. If I can take you guys back. Portugal, how did Portugal qualify when they went on to win the Euros? How? They best loser.
Best loser. They drew the
qualified. They qualified as a best loser, not top of the group, not second in the group, third in the group, and they went on to win. So teams like this, if they can get it, if South Africa can go out there in the last game and approach the game the way they finished the game against Czechia, for me, I see that they have a big chance because I know that Korea are disciplined and this, but I saw that they got tired. They are tired because their strategy is always behind the ball, and this tactic usually gets you tired. Usually the best way, we always say the best way to defend is to keep the ball. You keep it if you keep it, then who is running?
Your opponent
is the other team that is running. So we say the best way of defending is having the ball with you guys. So if Africa can go out there, be confident, the confidence that I saw in the last 15 minutes against Czechia, and also be adventurous in front, be play like South Africa, play the Shibobo. You know, we want to see these things. This is your identity. Do the things that you do. What has changed is just Mexico. You are just in Mexico. You are not in Mars. You know. I just want them to approach the game the way they finished the game against Czechia. Just be more. Just show more of your game.
That you have.
We love to see South Africa play. We watch PSL because they are the only team. They are the only league in the world. I don't know. Maybe in Brazil they do.
Maybe do the Super Disci.
Yes, in the world that they have their own star. They do. They are free with the ball. They do whatever they like with the ball. They entertain the crowd, and you want the crowd to be behind you. Do the magic. So they should just be positive as they finish the last game.
It will be sad to see South Africa getting out before the World Cup starts. The World Cup, it used to have 32.
No, but I agree. The World Cup is starting in the round of 32. This now we know. Because now the big boys, we are separating. We are separating the big boys from the school boys and the big boys.
After match day 2 in Group A, this is the complexion, as you can see on the screen, of Group A. It is Mexico on top there with 2 wins from 2 matches. South Korea in second position with 3 points, and Czech Republic and, of course, South Africa at the bottom 2. With South Africa at the bottom, actually, because of an inferior goal difference of -2. So they are at the bottom of this particular group. It also means that Mexico are the first team officially to qualify to the round of 32 or the knockout stages of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So congratulations to them, one of the co-hosts of this particular World Cup. It's heating up nicely, this edition of the World Cup, because it produced 14 goals in those 4 games that were played across the course of yesterday in the evening and at the early hours of today. Time for us now to move on to Group B, which was characterized by a headline and historical victory for Canada, 6-0 for the co-host over Qatar. You expected this result, Gezani?
Well, not that much, because I think Canada, they have been struggling in terms of playing good football. But yesterday night, I think it was one of those that I enjoyed watching. 6-0. Jonathan Davis, the Juventus player, having a hat-trick, those are rare moments. You win the ball at the end of the match and you sign your name there and you let everyone sign their names and say, this is my boy, and it's good for his children. And for me, it really motivates a lot. But in terms of, I think they've got high chances of qualifying to the next round, because I think even this high scoring goals, sometimes you just need this total of 9 points. You've got 4 points. You've got high chances of advancing to the next round. But in terms of, I think, how they played as a team. But again, very disappointing performance coming from Qatar, because we never expected them to play like that. We thought that they are going to do. They were the hosting nation last World Cup. They would have learned something out of that and show the people that we've benefited from hosting the World Cup. But they have not shown that. Losing 6-0, I think, for me was so embarrassing. And of course, there are a lot of goals that have been scored during this World Cup. Already we've hit 90 goals this tournament. So it means that we'll be able to witness more than 300 goals. I suspect we should have more than 300 goals before this World Cup ends. So I think for me it was so embarrassing for Qatar, but it was a very good gesture. I think the fans, hosting nation, celebrated and they enjoyed. Those are the moments that you would say, our government, you did well to request for hosting this World Cup.
Coach William, if you look at the statistics, utterly dominant, the Canadians over the Qataris in this particular encounter. What does your analytical eye tell you about those statistics? Or what should we read into those statistics as we see them on the screen?
Yeah, I think Canada's results only is like the chart we had yesterday. Now they play like a host nation, and that's what you want. As a host nation, you are looking at giving your home fans the theatrical performance. For me, I'll put it as one of the best performances in the World Cup this year. So far is one of them. And I believe Canada, they just had to do that. They had to come out in this game like that. They were very aggressive. They attacked very aggressive. They showed that intent that they're not playing. I know Qatar are a little bit passive. They're not really an aggressive team.
Yeah.
And like Gezani said, from the last game, they really looked good. I think they
Never expected them to
deteriorated.
lose, eh?
If I compare their first game and to their second game, I would say yes, maybe it could be Canada were very aggressive and they wanted to kill off Qatar, or Qatar were just bad.
Yeah.
But I would just give props to Canada because they really showed that they're a host nation. They showed that they really wanted it. They want it for their people. They want it for their fans. Ralin, again, he came in as a substitute in the first game. He equalized in the point against Bosnia for Canada. And again, he opened the scoreline. And you need this kind of player. You can see that maybe upon when he was getting picked, there were a lot of criticism. You could see because he celebrates, he's closing his ears, like that, and you'll be like, what is going on?
What is going
It's
on?
like silencing people.
Exactly.
I'm not listening to all of you. I'll just play my game. You can see,
Yeah, you can
and
see
I'm happy that the coach believed in him and started with him in yesterday's game. And these are players that you need, that they want to prove a point, and hence Canada scoring in the 16th minute, and then Adam Johnson comes with a hat-trick, But for me, that was a very convincing performance from a host nation, and you could see the Canadians in the stadium. You could see the joy from the little girls to the little boys, how happy the crowd was. So this is, as a technical person, you are looking to give your people this kind of performance.
Okay, Kyle Larin there, the scorer of the first goal for Canada, becomes the first Canadian in World Cup history to score 2 goals in consecutive matches. So a piece of history for him. And of course, Jonathan David, as Gezani alluded to, with a hat-trick in that particular encounter, the Juventus man also becoming the first player from Canada to score a hat-trick at the FIFA World Cup. Just to wrap up, our look back at Canada's performance yesterday. Coach Gez, do you think that they were aided by the fact that there were 2 red cards for their opponents, and that made the job a little bit easier for them?
Well, what makes a player to be given a red card is out of the pressure that you really put across. And no one wants to be given a red card, but it's due to the pressure that will make you maybe stretch your leg, maybe being a bit high. So you commit an offense where sometimes you are receiving too much pressure. So this is what happened. But of course, it's football. So we've seen matches whereby we've got 5 red cards being given. And they had red cards. But sometimes we've seen teams, they have got, they are short on a pitch, but they are able to produce a quality performance. But that never happened yesterday against Canada. So I think the pressure was, too much coming from Qatar. Looking at the spectators, the fans, they were really happy. Canada behaved like Zambia, that when the ladies they are playing, they have really so much success. But when it comes to men, they have been really, string stabbed. But yesterday it was all about the men who provided, smiles to the fans.
Absolutely. Just as we wrap up on this particular, a matchup between Canada and of course Qatar, those 2 red cards in that encounter means that we've got 5. That is more than the entire World Cup that produced 4 red cards at the last edition, which was in 2022, hosted by Qatar. Time for us to just quickly look at a graphical depiction of the results from yesterday's matches. South Africa and Czech Republic playing out to a 1-1 draw. Switzerland were on a 4-1 4-1 against Bosnia, and Canada beating Qatar by 6-0, and Mexico were on the right side of that 1-0 victory against South Korea. So those were the results from yesterday's encounters. We're going to take a short break, and after the break, we'll be delving into our topic of discussion. The new segment that we are, introducing on the show is the hydration break, a tactical break for coaches. And this is in reference to that water break or hydration break that has been introduced by FIFA as a mandatory measure at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We take a break. On the other side, me and Gez, as well as Coach William, get into it.
Fabulous Engineering Limited, Zambia's largest and the most advanced engineering company. We have the following products: hydraulic pipe fitting, roller shutter doors, farming equipment, mining equipment, plasma cutting, surface grinders, shaving machines, spiral ducting pipes, rolling machines, flat bending machines. We install industrial plants and carry out all type of turning, machining, fabrication and engineering works. We also manufacture different sizes of locally made fabulous pots. For more details, visit our website www.fabulousengineering.com. Our new premises, we are located at plot number 7204 Kachiza Road, behind Migma, PO Box 38005, Lusaka, Zambia. Or call us on +2609555 764011 or +2609796 98382 or +2609690 64419. Fabulous Engineering Limited, Zambia's largest and the most advanced engineering company.
UTBM University, the prime institution for lifelong learning. Enroll your university education now. Call 0978 430872, 0977 766866. Email utbmuniversity@gmail.com or simply log to www.utbmuniversity.org.
You're still watching Beyond the Whistle here on a BMTV channel 114 on your Top Star Bouquet, and of course via our Facebook page, which is BMTV Zambia channel 114. Make sure you leave those comments. We always appreciate to read and hear from you in the comment section there. So keep them coming if you can, wherever you are watching us from. We have an interesting topic. Every single day we'll be bringing you a different topic beyond the scoreline or the results at the FIFA World Cup. We're talking in depth today about whether is the hydration break a tactical break for coaches at the 2020 World Cup. There's been so much, talk, Coach Gezani, about, the World Cup, and we'll be seeing some of, the likes of Virgil van Dijk and many other, stakeholders in the game talking about how bad the hydration breaks are in the middle of, the first half and the second half, because it slows down the game. From your perspective, do you think it's a welcome move that FIFA have introduced these hydration breaks in the middle of, both halves?
Well, I think the first thing that FIFA could have done was to introduce and to tell the people what are the advantages and disadvantages of that 3 minutes being given. Mm-hmm. Just after 22nd minute, then they're able to go for water break, which is close to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to tell the people saying that the teams, that we are doing this for the sake of commercial, the money that they're getting from the sponsors, the stakeholders, I think it was going to be understood. But if you go and say that it's a water break, I think for me, it's a lie. It doesn't work out like a water break, because 3 minutes for water break. I think we've been having this where environment is maybe it's too hot, maybe just a minute. The coach knows. Within a minute, the player who is not on a pitch, the game will start. This is what they made. But we've got 3 minutes, and they are learning. I think they are learning the adverts, of which I think I say, oh, come over and tell me that it's based on the commercial attitude of football. I understand that. But again, like Pochettino was very, I think, straightforward. He told them that it really slows the pace of the players, because it's an advantage when you are being outplayed, because your coach can have an opportunity to talk to you what is happening and where you can fix up. Because some teams, they'll just change the way they are playing within 10 minutes. They'll look at the team like Brazil, the Brazil that I used to know, not this one that is struggling everywhere they are, wherever they are touching. Within 10 minutes, Brazil will change the way they're going to approach. They'll change. 90 minutes, Brazil could have switched maybe to 3-4 types of play.
Yeah.
According to what I think, because they played as a team, wherever that you want, they are the players with pace. They are everything, not this team that we are able to see this time. But again, for me, when it comes to commercial, it's okay. But in terms of the coaches, I think it's not a very good thing.
But William, do you share the same sentiments? I mean, I'm looking at it from yesterday's game, for instance. South Africa conceded in the 60th minute. It gives an opportunity at the 22nd minute for Coach Hugo Broos maybe to have a tactical, talk with his team and change a few things. Many would actually argue that actually worked for South Africa because they stabilized after that. And as you saw, even in the second half, they were the team on the ascendancy. And others will probably look at, the point in case of Canada, because they scored their second goal on the 29th minute, just 2 minutes after the water break they had. So clearly from a coach's perspective, does that give you some sort of an advantage to talk to your players during the course of, the match? Because sometimes it might be difficult to get that information, to the players if there's no water break.
Yeah, I think 100% every coach would want an opportunity to have a chat, a small chat. I'm a big fan of basketball.
Yeah.
And coaches, they request, and basketball strategically, coaches, they request
for a timeout.
Under pressure.
Yeah.
They request for a timeout.
Yeah.
Or if he needs to give a very important
instruction.
He calls for a timeout. So usually for every coach, is an opportunity to say something.
Yeah.
But like Gezana said, is if everything is going well for your team and you have momentum and you're looking, because when a team has momentum, you can see that the goal is coming.
Yeah.
You see 5-7 minutes, you can see that anytime they might score.
Yeah.
So meaning that team has got what? Has got momentum.
Yeah.
But as you are getting closer to getting your goal, because the more you attack your opponents, it's like you suffocate them, like what happened yesterday to Qatar. Qatar were pressed in such a way that they couldn't. Eventually, they broke down.
Yeah.
So hence getting even red cards and these things. So, if, for example, Qatar had a chance to, they were pressed in the 15th or 16th minute, 17th minute, or in the 20th minute, they were going to be praying for the what? For the water break to come,
exactly.
So that the coach can have a chat, regroup, and see how they can. If really there is a healthy hazard that really it's very hot and the teams deserve to go and drink some water, then it's okay. But if, like Gezana said, is for other things, then again we are killing our game because we have VAR, we have this,
so much technology,
we have too much. Like the game is slowly getting out of our hands. It's getting out of people. It's getting out of reality. Now it's being controlled by outside forces. A long time ago, a football match was decided by people on the field, players for that matter. Even sometimes coaches did not even say much about what we are going to play. This, we're going to play that. We're going like in Africa, for example, Zambia in particular. When I just started playing Premier League, early 2006. The coach would just say, tulete ya 4-3-3 Maumfwa. You go on the pitch.
And you implement it by yourselves.
The coach did not even teach you how to play 4-3-3.
Yeah.
But just say, tulete iwe mwarati ya batatu pakati, imwe batatu kuntanji. Finish.
Yeah.
So it was up to players. This is what I'm saying. Before the game was decided that the players on the pitch, even advise, coaches did not shout at you. The coach would just see, maybe insult you or just shout at you to provoke. Yes. If you understand, and then just that.
Yeah.
You sometimes you
wake up.
Sometimes just take 2-3 players of your position. Warm up, and then suddenly you say, maybe I'm going to be substituted, and then eventually you just lift up your tempo. So the game is slowly going out of it's not now the people on the pitch that are deciding results. So this water break, this hydration break, it is good if really it is necessary. Yeah. It is okay. I don't have a problem with it. But if it is for commercials, and because again, how do you have a commercial when the game is on and then you have a commercial break, commercial adverts.
FIFA are arguing that companies are paying in excess of $200,000 US dollars for a 30-second advert in that 33 minutes window in the water break. So that's a lot of money. It can even go up as far as 1.2 million that companies are paying for adverts inside. So FIFA are making that argument that it makes sense. On the other side, they're protecting the welfare of the players, because it's excessive heat temperatures. On the other side, they're earning some money.
Where do you think it was more heat?
Ultimately, when
Qatar.
Did we have
Qatar? What did they do?
Yes,
within the stadium?
We were
able to make the air condition.
Yeah,
conditioning the stadium.
But we still had breaks. I think the difference now is that it's mandatory. In Qatar, I think
was
when
it
it
3
gets,
minutes?
Yeah,
It was just a minute.
Just a minute. But when you get at 30 degrees in Qatar and above, the referees were told to implement the water breaks.
Yes.
If it's anything below that, then you're not at liberty.
I think that for me, the Qatar system makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's a certain degree that you can tolerate, and the one that you cannot.
Yeah.
And if it reaches the one that you cannot, yes, obviously everyone else agrees. Even teams were briefed, were told that if the temperature reaches it goes above 30, yes, then you have the right as a referee to stop the game, because even the watch shows the degree. So eventually, at the end of the day, I understand football has been commercialized, and it's become a business. Hence, also we've lost the nature, like the natural side of it.
Yeah.
And but we have to move with it. What can we do?
Yeah.
We have to adjust and find ways that we can also take advantage of these things. So as a coach, I will take advantage of the water break I'll use, instead of complaining, I'll just use the water break to help my team power more pressure, or help my team suck in the pressure, or advise one player to do the 1v1, whatever the case, you know. So I'll just take advantage.
Realistically, Gezani, I want to ask you, I want you to put on your cap as a coach. 3 minutes is only 180 seconds. Realistically, how much tactical information can you give your team or your players in 180 seconds?
I think what happens now is that every team knows that after 22 minutes, they were going to have 3 minutes break. You will not see the players rushing to drink water. They'll go and see the coach. They know that within a space of a minute, you can disseminate information to the players. You do this, you Maratera left, you go back to right, I think I win. You can do that, you can coach that. But again, these are the teams that are given enough time to prepare for the World Cup. What you would have not have done, I think, during your preparations, you cannot fit in and squeeze in within 3 minutes. So sometimes it's just to kills the momentum of the game. But when you tell me, because FIFA, they've got a lot of projects that they need to fund, all over the world. If you tell me and be open and say that we've put this for the sake of marketing and commercializing something, then I understand. Because by the end of the day, when FIFA comes in, they find a lot of teams, I think, all over the world. So I understand that, I agree that.
We're kind of pressed for time, so I need answers in 30 seconds from both of you with this question. Let's bring the debate home to Zambia. I know that in the past we've had some hydration or water breaks, whatever you want to term it as, in Zambian football, but it's not mandatory. In an event that FAS and the ZPL come to coaches and ask you to vote yes or no, would you be one of those coaches who are going to vote yes to make it mandatory for water breaks in the Zambian Premier League to be introduced?
Game is played in June. No water break.
Well, it's not just in June.
No, but I'm saying
it goes up to October.
So I want to also put up the reason why I support the Qatar system of hydration breaks is that you can do a hydration break depending on whether the temperature has exceeded a certain level
that you agree
of temperature
upon.
that you have, that maybe the association had put in place, that if the weather goes until this, then you can do water break.
Guess, what's your take?
Well, I think for me, it kills the momentum of the game. Why?
So even when in October, for instance, when we get temperatures in excess of 35 degrees, the Zambian Premier League should not implement the water breaks?
No, I wouldn't support that. Why? Because that when a player is lying down, always these coaches, they'll call a player. Those people who are too thirsty, they draw. That's the reason if you see that even the doctors, they'll put the waters just on the edge of the pitch. Everyone can come and pick. Those who are playing there, a goalkeeper always will have 2 bottles. And we are killing our football. So for me, I'll be the first one telling them that we don't need this.
Yeah.
We don't need this. Why? Because also even in the time that we are playing our league, I think it is resuming in September, October, it will be hot. Maybe, but still the coaches, they know they are very clever. What you are going to do, you are going to call your players and have something. So I think for me, let us not copy everything.
That's our, new segment where we look at, matters arising at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Today, we were looking at whether, the hydration breaks are tactical breaks for coaches at the World Cup, and the pros and cons, if you like, of having those hydration breaks on the 22nd minute of the first half, and of course on the 67th minute in the second half, that has been introduced as a mandatory measure by FIFA at this particular World Cup. Time for us to return to the fixtures that we can look ahead to. Scotland versus Morocco. Let me begin with you, Giz. Morocco go into this particular encounter as probably the favorites. Something that wasn't the case in the previous, World Cup in Qatar when they went, to the semi-final. By virtue of them being the favorites, does that put more pressure on them going into this particular encounter? And of course, for them being a must-win encounter because they dropped points against Brazil in their first match while Scotland won.
Well, I think this is the game to watch. Like always, I'll be telling you, Isaac, Morocco, Senegal, they're on another level. I think the gear that they have just placed is too much for Africa to catch up with them. Even Scotland, it will be very difficult for them to beat Morocco. Look, there's a pressure. If there's a person who is feeling the heat, it's the coach for Morocco. Because you are looking at how Wadi took the team from. Now they have made 30 games without losing a game.
Yeah.
The last game that they lost at international level was during the CHAN when they lost against Kenya.
Yeah.
30 games without losing a game. And this is the team that you have just picked in, and they have just said that you are the coach. So you will see how Morocco will run through today. I don't think Scotland will have any chance of, winning this one. Why? Because I think they have met before. I think it should be 1998 group stage when they lost it, when they managed to beat Scotland 3-0. You are talking about Morocco. This is Morocco we are talking about. In 1998 in France, they managed to beat Scotland. So I think even this afternoon, we are talking about Ayub. He's the kid that has been born, and everyone is able to look at him. Today, I wake up just to watch, I think, a few players, making sure that I see how this boy is going to operate in the midfield. Yeah. But of course, the vast experience that the likes of Robertson, the former Liverpool, left back, being the captain. I'll see also how he's going to account. I know that he still has got some energies, but in terms of, I think this one winning, Africa, they have got an upper hand to support Morocco and beat Morocco, regardless of whatever could have happened. Senegal, Morocco affairs, but after this evening, let's wake up and make sure that we support. I think it's a game to watch.
Brazil up against Haiti is another, fixture that, viewers out there can look forward to in watching in the early hours of tomorrow. The Samba boys under pressure. They couldn't manage a victory against Morocco. In fact, they survived in many people's eyes in that particular encounter. They got up against Haiti. They need these 3 points. But how do they approach it? How does Carlo Ancelotti approach, this particular encounter, which is a must-win for them?
I think they have to go all out. They don't have they have no chance. This is Brazil. Regardless of the quality of players that they have right now, I think they need to understand that the badge is too heavy.
Yeah.
They need to carry it with a lot of pride. I think the over-reliance on Vini, who for me, compared to Neymar at his prime, doesn't even come close.
Yeah.
The over-reliance on Vini is, for me, I'm very disappointed. You have players like Martinelli, young, won the league. These players the team needs to have both wings operating the same way.
Yeah.
You cannot have the ball and all the time the pass goes to Vini.
Yeah.
And Vini, we know what he's going to do. And I know Haiti, the debutant, or they've been there before.
Yes,
second appearance.
Yeah.
I know, but they haven't really done like anything at the world. I know that, but Brazil should just go out there and suffocate them. They need to change. For me, seeing Casemiro and this for former Liverpool, Casemiro and in midfield, Fabinho in midfield, I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
And Fabinho just came in. They started with I think that other midfielder. Then after things they went. Fabinho at least he came and stabilized.
Believe me, whatever the case, Fabinho, this player his prime is 4 years ago.
Yes.
And you're playing the World Cup in 2026.
I agree with you.
You cannot play. Fabinho should have created space for young, vibrant Guimaraes. Yes, is good.
Paqueta is good.
Paqueta is good. Cunha,
but not very good.
Who?
Paqueta not very good.
But listen, this kind of player, Brazil don't have the same players, the kind of player that they had
but they have
15 years ago.
The mediocrity of selecting the players is what has made them
Gilberto Silva,
Kaká, Robinho, Ronaldinho.
Adriano, these were players that can change the game. A player alone can influence the game.
But coach, you know the reason why they are where they are. It is because of mediocrity of selecting players. If you are going to depend so much players based in Europe, Brazilian, you've lost the culture. I will remind you the success of Brazil. In 2002 when they won the World Cup, that 9 players who were playing in their local
Brazil,
In 1998, they had 12 players who are playing in Brazil. The moment they just said that let us put players coming from Europe. Coach, today you want to see a player playing for Brentford, being the top striker for Brazil.
Even me, I was surprised.
Come on, let's be honest. I support Brazil and I've got soft heart for Brazil. I was surprised. You pick a player playing for Brentford who has scored just close to 13 goals for Brazil. Ask Ronaldo, ask Kaká. They were surprised and disappointed with the performance
today,
of Brazil.
Regardless, these players should say we are going to bring back the Brazil and we play in our own culture. We forget where we're coming from. I forget that I play for Man U. I'm going to play like a player that Man U saw before. I played for Man U. Every player should go out there and play like a proper Brazilian player. They have an identity, and we want to see that. The people that we followed this Brazil for a long time, we know how Brazil play. So we want to see that. And if they can apply themselves, for sure, I think they stand a chance.
If they win less than 6 goals, then forget about Brazil.
Okay, that brings me to my final question. No explanation. Prediction. who wins between Morocco and Scotland, and who's winning between Brazil and Haiti, and what score?
Okay, Morocco versus Scotland, 3-1 in favor of Morocco.
Brazil, Haiti.
Brazil 7-0.
William?
Morocco wins 2-0. Brazil 4-0.
The goodness with this show is that we record all these, programs, and tomorrow, if these gentlemen get it correct, we shall play back, their predictions in as far as the two matches is concerned. Let me just wrap up by looking comprehensively at what you can expect a little bit later on tonight, and of course across tomorrow in the fixtures that are coming up in the next 24 hours. It's the United States of America, one of the co-hosts. They lock horns with Australia at 21 hours tonight. And of course, Scotland up against Morocco in the early hours of tomorrow at midnight, this particular game in Central African time. Brazil up against Haiti at 02:30 hours, and Turkey up against Paraguay to end proceedings for match day 2 in this particular group at 05 hours Zambian time. It's been great doing business with you, Coach Gezani and Coach William, giving us expert analysis on Beyond the Whistle. You can also be part and parcel of the analysis by dropping us that comment in the comment section on our Facebook page, which is BMTV Zambia channel 114. Alternatively, thank you for our viewership that has been watching us on channel 114 on your Top Star Bouquet. On behalf of everybody involved in this particular production, my name is Isaac Chibotanga. Until tomorrow, au revoir.